It's another edition of PENSDOWN. On this show, journalists are the newsmakers. They are no longer the reporters or the presenters. We tell the storytellers stories. They go through a lot, but they hardly get the opportunity to share. This is why PENSDOWN is here. The name says pens down. The pen represents the journalist. So here they drop it, and then we face them with the questions. The tables are turned here. Today I have been joined by a colleague all the way from the bilingual country of Cameroon. He is a multimedia journalist based in Yaoundé. He is currently Cameroon's correspondent for Reuters news agency. He has intrinsic passion for investigative reporting and has worked in radio, print, and online. In addition to independent local media outlets, he has reported for respected regional and global news organizations like Quartz, The Times UK, Jeune Afrique, Mongabe, Mail and Guardian, German Press Agency, Epoch Times, New Frame, African Arguments, Equal Times, and IT Web Africa, among others. Besides extensively covering Cameroon, he has reported from several countries. Amongst them are South Africa, Canada, Ethiopia, Kenya, Togo, Nigeria, Central African Republic, and Gabon. Among his notable works was a story about security officials' collision with a phony Red Cross agent who fleeced university students of millions of francs, for which he won an investigative reporting prize from the British Council in Yaoundé and Africa Phony in 2016. The same year, he covered the ultimately successful struggle of Nigeria's University of Maiduguri to repel Boko Haram militants from the start of their insurgency in 2009 until December 2016. He has received several international recognitions for his work. In 2019, he was finalist in the inaugural Global Reporter Prize, that is the True Story Award, and took part in the Reportagen Festival Bern in Switzerland. Also, same year, he was decorated in London, United Kingdom, with the Kurt Schock Award in International Journalism. The judges commended him for his bravery in documenting the drawn-out armed conflict in Cameroon's English-speaking regions, with his reporting digging into how the conflict was playing out everywhere from Cameroon's orphanages to its wildlife reserves. Amindeh Blaise Atabong is my guest on PENSDOWN today. Thanks for joining me, my brother.
It's my pleasure, Stephen.
You have reported on Boko Haram before. With your time that you reported on that militant group, what did you get to understand is the motivation for what they are doing? Is it religious? Is it political? Or is it a mix?
I think it's a cocktail of everything that you mentioned. I first of all would like to indicate that I really didn't cover Boko Haram full time because I'm
Okay,
based in the capital Yaoundé, which is
right.
downtown, and then
Mm,
the epicenter of the conflict is taking part in the northern part of the country around the Chad Bay. So I often go there once in a while when I have a story idea
okay.
to cover. So coming back to the question,
Mm,
the conflict has its roots from maybe let's say religious um, differences, but I think
yeah.
it's more political than
Mm,
religious. And
mm,
when you want to go deeper into looking at some of the drivers of violent extremism in this part of Africa, you realize that there are just so many of them,
mm,
and one of them is the high level of poverty in this region, and also the level of under-scholarization, which is quite low, especially among women and girls. So there are things that make people to easily adhere to
mm.
recruitment by these militants. So those are some of the things which I observed during my reporting of that conflict.
How did you discover the journalist in you while you were growing up? Or what brought you into this profession?
Yeah, that's a question that many persons always asked. I started nursing an interest in journalism while I was in secondary school.
Mm,
Um, so back then,
mm,
we used to listen to the radio.
okay.
I had very limited access to newspaper, talk less of online. So
Mm,
radio was what I really inspired me, and we used to have great journalists. We used to hear those great voices on our national radio, which is a
yeah.
Cameroon radio television. So there were
Mm,
names like Epson Goom and all of that that inspired me. So I started nursing this interest, and then
mm,
the interest was somehow materialized. In my secondary school, we had a
okay.
journalism club, and we had the opportunities to do like some sort of news presentation
Okay.
every day when we had a general assembly on campus. So
Mm,
from there, that when I completed high school, I had to apply to study journalism in the University of Boya.
mm. What would you say represents the most challenging assignment or set of assignments these years that you have been on the field reporting?
Well, the challenges, I just want to first of all talk about it generally. When you look at
Okay.
the media landscape in Cameroon, which is somehow similar to other media landscapes on the continent, you realize that
Yeah.
there are so much pressures and constraints
Mm,
in news gathering and reporting. For the case of Cameroon, there are certain things which are peculiar to this country. First,
mm,
access to information act
mm,
in Cameroon. So it makes it difficult it makes reporting difficult. But there are basic things which you may approach officials to maybe give you some statistics or comment, and then they'll tell you, no, I can't tell you this until I have clearance from my boss. Maybe the boss is a director, and then when you meet the boss, say, no, I need clearance from my own hierarchy, maybe the minister, and then from there they will keep on pushing you, and it delays your story, it gets you frustrated, and all of that. So
mm,
it's a very big challenge which journalists are facing in Cameroon. This
mm,
lack of access to information act. It's like I know countries like yours, Ghana has one, South Africa, Kenya, and all of that, but we still don't have that in Cameroon. And it's something which we of defamation, which is still a criminal offense in
mm,
Cameroon, and we also have a 2,000 journalists for maybe conspiracy reporting the crisis in the far north and even what is happening in the speaking part of Cameroon.
Does journalism pay?
Oh yes, um, it does pay. I did some volunteering work with a local commercial radio station, and then
Mm,
from there I got a staff position with the Living English Language Daily. I also work with briefly at a stint at the Cameroon News and Publishing Corporation, SOPECAM, which
mm,
is a state-run Sunday. But the pay wasn't really that much, so I felt like I was putting in so much for so less. So, but when I decided to go into freelancing, I realized that there was quite some money in
mm,
journalism, and since I've been freelancing, I've been making quite some good money. So I think
mm,
journalism pays both in terms of personal fulfillment and the economic aspects of it.
mm. Social media has created richer bloggers than richer journalists in Africa. Is there something we missed out as journalists, which is why we've not been able to harness the full might of social media to our economic benefits?
I think I don't want to talk about Africa in general because I
Okay.
may not have the like empirical evidence to defend that assertion. But I want to
Okay.
look at the case of Cameroon and
Mm,
maybe the English speaking media in country.
Yeah.
So I think most of the traditional media journalists were not ready for this transition. So when when the social media was coming, or when there was this proliferation of the internet, they didn't
Mm,
really jump on the bandwagon and took advantage of it. They were like doubting if this is going to work or this is not going to work. Whereas citizen journalists were taking advantage of these. I think it's only now that that consciousness is coming that there is this convergence of this media convergence, and it's becoming a little too late for us practicing journalists to jump on the bandwagon. Whereas citizen journalists have already taken, they already took advantage of this opportunity long ago, and
mm.
they are maximizing it more than journalists who are now coming onto the bandwagon. So that is what I have observed in Cameroon.
How has social media itself changed the practice of journalism?
I think it's made it more challenging,
Mm,
especially for professional journalists. I'll take one example. Just 2 days ago, there was a landslide in Yaoundé.
mm,
I'm based here in the capital, and it wasn't too far from where I live. So when the incident happened, uh, on social media, that's WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter, guys were saying that, oh, 50 people have died, 60 people have died, the landslide buried this number of persons. And then I rushed to the scene, did some findings and all of that. And at the end, it turned out that just 14 bodies had been recovered. And
mm,
when the rescue operations ended, it was officially declared that 15 people had died. And when I did the report, guys were saying, no, 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 you guys are lying. We already got the real information. It's 50 and all of that. So it becomes a very big challenge
mm,
for professional journalists who actually try to be as much uh, accurate. Like I know most professional journalists value accuracy than speed, which is
mm.
like what of things on social media. Like I want to be the first to publish this thing, so it's a challenge for professional journalists, those who want to really keep to the standards. Social media in this aspect is a challenge. Yeah.
Mm. A lot of trained, qualified journalists are abandoning the crafts. Some of them are going into corporate communications or public relations. Others are just jumping onto anything that will give them survival. Attrition in journalism, what do you think is accounting for it?
I think in Cameroon, like in
Mm,
other African countries where I've been to,
yeah.
there are a lot of quacks who have joined the profession. You know, journalism is a liberal profession,
Mm,
and there are not these checks and balances in terms of entry to the core in most African countries. So, whosoever, whether even properly educated or not, let's even keep aside the aspect of getting some basic journalism training. You
mm,
see a guy who just leaves, maybe he's a dropout from secondary school, and the next minute he has a camera, the next minute you see him like, I'm a journalist, I'm running a website, a news website, and all of that. And it's some sort of like garbage in, garbage out.
mm,
And then when it comes to like, if the guy goes somewhere and maybe he's very unprofessional, very unethical, and he presents himself as a journalist and is considered as such, and then maybe you are coming back maybe after him or something. So, another journalist was already, and all of these guys, people are just disturbing and all that. You're just looking for tips and all that. So it really makes some of us really feel bad being referred to as journalists when other quack journalists
mm,
have entered
mm,
the core like a very bad one. So some people cannot really take that frustration, and when they see
mm.
something better, they just decide to leave. Some of them go into the corporate world, others go into academia, others just completely even just leave the profession, maybe joining non-government organizations or repurposing themselves.
With the kind of leadership we have in Africa, most of whom have an appetite for suppression, do you think the idea of licensing journalists should be embraced in Africa or across the continent?
Yes, I know. At the same time, um, let me begin with the yes aspect.
Mm.
and which I think in the case of Cameroon, it's quite intentional that government doesn't want to do some sort of proper licensing because
Mm.
government has actually fragmented the media to its advantage. We have a very fragmented media landscape, and it's intentional in such a
Mm.
way that the government wants the press to be weakened so that it can't really play its
Yeah.
watchdog role.
Mm.
So I don't think Cameroon, the government is really hot about saying, okay, let's do some proper licensing. Let's
Yeah.
make the National Press Card Commission get so serious. Um, Based on that, I think even if the government has to do that,
Mm.
that's where the no aspect comes in because if the government doesn't want to see a strong press. Definitely, they don't want to get if they want to get people licensed.
Mm.
There are some journalists who will merit to be licensed, who may be critical, will be left out. So that's
Mm.
where I say both yes and no. But I think it's important for there to be an independent commission that
Mm.
licenses journalists. Yeah. Maybe it should be something that should be um, done by the core itself, maybe a strong press union, and not maybe a government run media council. So I think there should be some sort of licenses and control, but it should be uh, more of independent.
Mm. How many times have you been approached with anything material or monetary in the line of duty to compromise any story or even kill a story you were doing?
For a few couple of times,
Mm.
and you the times I was approached, you understand that people really underrate journalists because if someone is coming to bribe you as a journalist and maybe it's approaching with less than $500, it's like
Mm.
well, she doesn't even deserve. But if you want to bribe somebody, you bring some chunk of money, the person can have a second thought, right?
Yeah.
But now somebody's come with like $500, and it's like I'm not trying to bribe you $500. It already tells you that that person have a perception that you are like,
A low
it's
estimation of
like if
you.
you a low estimation of you. So there was a story I was doing sometimes,
Mm.
and I was investigating a corrupt gendarme. The gendarmes in the Cameroonian context,
The
like a
police.
paramilitary police.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a paramilitary police. So
Okay.
the guy was like, "Why are you so interested in this story? Just drop it and just take this one and forget about whosoever is paying for this story. Let me pay for it and we drop it." But it was a story that I put in a lot of efforts and financial resources to investigate. So I was already on the course of completing my investigation. I had to resist the temptation, and I've always tried as much as I can to resist temptation of collecting the pound envelope. And it's something which is recurrent in my doing my undergraduate studies. I did a study on that. It was my the topic of my research at the
Mm.
BSc level about the bank envelope syndrome in Cameroon, and
Mm.
it's something which is really digging deep
Mm.
in the country. But I've always resisted
Mm.
about my practice.
Right. In Cameroon, the English name is brown envelope. The local name is gombo.
Oh no,
In
gumbo, yes, yeah.
in
We call it
Nigeria,
here gumbo.
it is also called brown envelope. In Ghana, they call it sole, which is the shortened form of solidarity. What is your personal take on this practice?
Um, I think it takes two to tango. The
Mm.
giver and the taker,
Yeah.
like symbiotic relationships.
Mm.
Sometimes when you get event organizers don't give, the journalists, some of them solicit. And
Mm.
the reason why they solicit, when I did my research at the undergraduate level,
Mm.
is because of low salaries. Some of the journalists who work here, who are staff reporters, they either don't earn good salaries or don't
Mm.
even earn salaries at all. So
Mm.
they have to live, and those are some of the things that push them
Mm.
into into um, into taking the gombo. We call it a gombo. So
Mm.
if if more journalists were properly trained, it was going to give them some consciousness, because when you're trained and you know the dangers of collecting gumbo,
mm,
it acts like some sort of it dissuades you from that. But once you don't know the ethics and the ontology of the profession, you don't feel like
mm,
it's something bad you're doing. You feel like it's something you're entitled to.
mm.
So poor training is one of them. Uh, Lack of salaries and all of that. So it's like a terrible cocktail put together, and
Yeah.
it makes the thing look so sad.
Mm. You have done journalism since 2010. That is about 12 years now. If we are to roll back the hands of time 15 years, are you still going to choose journalism for a career?
Yes. If we were to go back a time, I'll
Yeah.
say choose value for a career. It's something I'm very passionate about. Um,
Mm,
I'm very passionate about journalism. I've done some stories which I really enjoy, and I'm really proud of such stories.
mm,
And some of them have really catapulted me in my career, and
mm.
giving me that self confidence as so important. So if I also do that, I'll still choose journalism. But at this moment, I'm planning of getting into some sort of progressive disengagement to
Mm.
get into other um, exciting opportunities.
Share with us your golden memories these 12 years.
Okay, one of them was in 2016.
Mm,
I was on a reporting trip to Maiduguri, which is
okay.
like the
In
epicenter
Borno
of
State.
Boko Haram
Yeah.
in Borno State. So I was on a reporting trip, and then based on the findings which I'd done, the best place for me to lodge at that time was in the University of Maiduguri, UDMA. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did lodge there based on some arrangements which my fixer did for me.
Mm,
And then while I was lodging in university, I realized that the university had resisted Boko Haram from when it started in 2009 up to
mm,
2016,
mm,
November, December, when I was there. So the university had never closed. And Boko Haram's ideology is like against Western
Western
education. So it was
education. Yeah.
surprising that, yeah, it was surprising that the university was still up and running. And then I got this story idea, and I did a story which was published by Quant Africa, and the
Okay.
headline was "Lessons in Resistance: The University that Boko Haram put in short down." And so the story was up on Quant. It was republished by a couple of Nigerian publications, and unfortunately, I think about 3 weeks after, the uh, militant group tried to attack that university, and it was
Wow.
one of the first deadliest attack on the university. Fortunately, many civilians died. I think there were five suicide bombers who actually died. But there were double suicide attacks, one at the entrance of the university and the other at the university mosque. So that's where I really saw the power of the media,
Mm,
because at times we engage in certain reporting and forget about the impact of our journalism. So it was
mm,
really there that I saw the impact of the media on what you can report and how it can impact on the society. Yeah.
mm,
So those are one of the moments which
mm.
uh, I've lived as a journalist, and I really think it's an experience which I'll never forget as a journalist. Yeah.
Talking about this logical absurdity they represent, saying they are against Western education, but right under their nose, a university was thriving. Another thing which a colleague also told me was that all the weapons they use are Western manufactured, which are also products of Western education. So are they really against Western education?
Yeah. So that is it. And then if you read through the story, you realize
Mm,
that the approach which the university officials took was really good, because we're in the heat of it, especially after the kidnap of the Chibok girls.
mm,
Like,
mm,
the university was considering shutting down for a while, but one of their consideration was like, if we shut down, where will the students go to? Most of them are coming from these villages where
yeah,
Boko Haram has already taken hold of. So if we are
mm,
sending them back there, we're just sending new recruits. So the
yeah.
university stood its ground that no, we are not shutting down. So that's one of the strategies which the university use, which I put it on. If you have time, you can read that story, which is still online.
I'll look out for it. Politics, politicians, and politically exposed persons, they are now gradually and strategically setting up media houses. In fact, they didn't start today. The increasing political ownership of the media. Is there trouble brewing? Do we have a reason to be concerned? Are we safe?
Yeah, I think there is much to be concerned about.
Mm,
I'll take the case of Cameroon.
okay.
The media it's fragmented along economic and political lines.
Mm,
So most of the big media houses we have in the country are either owned by top politicians
mm,
or top economic gurus. And it makes it very dangerous. I see like it's something which is boiling and which at some point it may get to explode because these media organs now tend to promote political and economic agendas of
mm,
the political parties and the regions where their sponsors come from. And
mm,
Cameroon, which is like we like we always call Cameroon, it's Africa in miniature.
mm,
It's a very big country with diverse people and diverse
yeah.
culture. It's not a good thing when the media is fragmented along these lines. And it's a trend which is growing in Africa, and I find it very worrisome.
Mm, mm. How many more years do you want to go before you drop your pen or you move away from this craft, this profession?
I'm thinking of 5 years. I'm thinking of 5 years. Yeah,
Mm,
I'm considering moving into public policy analysis. It's something which I'm also passionate about.
mm. You are bilingual, am I right?
Yes, I'm even
Nah.
multilingual, so I speak
Oh,
a few other
fantastic.
languages.
Okay, that's fine. How challenging or how exciting is it reporting from a bilingual society? Now, I'm using bilingual for Cameroon in terms of its international languages, French, English.
Yeah, for the case of Cameroon, it's been quite challenging, especially for other colleagues who are not as
Mm,
bilingual as I am.
mm,
Yeah. So the advantage I have, uh, it's because I was born in the French-speaking part. So from
mm,
when I was growing up as a kid, I already started learning the other language because
mm.
I come from the English-speaking part of
Okay.
Cameroon, from the
Mm,
southwest region. But I wasn't born there. My parents were there from there. So I had the opportunity to start learning French as a kid. And so even before I went to school, I could speak some basic French. So and then when I went to school, I just had to upgrade and I got the working proficiency in French. But a good number of my other colleagues who are English
mm,
speaking journalists
mm,
don't have that privilege which I had. So most of them don't understand and speak French well, and it makes it quite challenging for them to work in a bilingual country like Cameroon because you realize that before the crisis erupted, the Anglophone crisis erupted in 2016.
yeah.
And even one of the reasons why the crisis even erupted is because there was this dominance of the
Mm,
French language
yeah.
over English, whereas constitutionally, both languages are, are of equal status, which
Mm,
means that constitutionally there should be no document, official document, that should be released in one language
yeah.
constitutionally. It becomes a
Mm,
constitutional problem if a document is released only in English and not in
yeah.
French, or only in French and not in English. They're supposed to be
Mm,
released simultaneously in the two languages. But that has not happened largely in the last 50 years in
mm,
Cameroon. So there are journalists who may go to cover maybe an event or maybe we want to interview an official, and you get the official saying that should be confirmed par l'anglais, who should some will even tell you ne parle pas votre patois, meaning that I don't speak that your dialect, referring to English. So it's been quite challenging for most English-speaking journalists in the country. But I think
mm,
I'm that exception because I'm somehow very bilingual. So I can speak French, I can read and understand French, and I have
mm.
that privilege just because I stayed for some time in the French-speaking part of the country.
You have reported across a number of African countries. For access to information, how challenging or how difficult was it?
All right, let me make a comparison between uh, uh, Cameroon and
Mm-hmm.
South Africa because I was in South Africa for 1 year in
Okay.
2020. And during that period, I was writing for the Mail and Guardian and the Continent. So I had the opportunity to practice
Mm,
a little in South Africa. We realized that access to information there is somehow a little more advanced than in
mm,
Cameroon. For instance, I was doing a story about when COVID erupted. I was doing a story about African uh, migrants who were trapped in China. And I just wanted to get a view from an international relation expert. And I just checked online and I got one from the University of Pretoria. I just
mm.
called, introduced myself to him. He shared his email, I sent him a few questions, and the next moment he was answering. Now back to
Wow.
Cameroon. If you try to get an expert, let's say maybe from a state university like the University of Yaoundé 1 or Yaoundé 2,
Mm,
which has a
mm,
political science program, I bet you even if the expert knows what to say, you'll be scared of saying because you'll be afraid of the repercussions of what you're saying. Maybe
mm,
his promotion will be delayed and all of that. So those are some of the
mm,
things that really stifle access in a country like Cameroon. And someone like me who has practiced in a few other countries, when I do that comparison, I see that here in Cameroon we still have a very long way to go
mm,
when it comes to
mm,
access to information.
mm. Watching and monitoring the stock markets is one of your hobbies. I am curious, is it because of your background in financial journalism, or you are an investor who is interested in seeing to the health of your?
um, I'm not even an investor. I'm laughing because there's this comedian in Nigeria who calls Sabinus who says he's an investor. So I follow his comedy. So when you mentioned
I know
investment,
him very well.
it really,
He's always in blue
yeah, it
shirts.
really, yes, yeah, it really makes me laugh. Well, I'm not yet an investor. I hope at some point in time in my life I'll have the
Mm,
financial resources to invest. But I started taking interest in business and economic reporting in 2000 around 2017. Yeah.
mm,
So um, even though I've been more like a general assignment reporter, financial journalism is like my thing, which
mm,
I'm much more passionate about. Yeah. And then in 2020, I had a scholarship from the Conrad Adenauer Fund
mm.
Media Sub-Saharan Africa Media Program.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to study financial journalism at the
Mm,
master's level at the University of the Witwatersrand. So
mm,
um, I got some good training from good industry experts, and yeah. So throughout my stay, I've been monitoring the stock
mm,
exchange as part of the course I was taking. That's the Johannesburg Stock Exchange and other stock exchange markets like the London Stock
mm,
Exchange and all of that. So it's something I'm passionate about, like seeing how global trends are affecting
mm, mm,
the stock exchange market. Yeah,
mm,
so it's something which I do
mm,
more like a pastime, like looking at it and then trying to
mm.
to get a sense of what
Yeah.
is happening and what can actually cause the stock exchange market to bleed like we saw during
Mm,
the COVID, where uh, uh, a barrel of oil even sold at a negative. So
yeah.
I just do that for
Mm,
passion because I'm very passionate about financial issues.
mm,
And one thing you need to know is that the guys in the stock exchange have a very big say of how the global economy runs because
mm.
everything happening yeah, can be traced back to the stock exchange market.
Wow. Um, You are an investigative journalist. Investigative journalists, I liken them to the special forces in the army. The special forces are trained to take up operations where the regular army cannot handle. And they believe in fewer numbers, maximum impacts. The same applies to investigative journalists. They do unconventional reporting, which sometimes expose some of the most dreaded agents, enemies of progress in the society. How many times has your work as an investigative journalist put your life in danger? How many times have you been threatened in the line of duty?
Okay, yeah. Let me just pick up the anecdote you mentioned, and to say that I am I'm like in the special forces,
Yeah,
but not of the elite corps. Like
that's right.
my not in the elite corps. Like
That's right.
my 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 level of investigation journalism is not like right up
Mm,
like
mm,
that.
mm,
Yeah. So yeah, because I'm based here. I
mm.
can't get to that level at the moment
Yeah.
because if you do it, you can't survive. Being listed in Cameroon, if I get to that elite core of
Mm,
investigative journalism, I can't make it. Being here in
mm.
Cameroon, I know
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I do it to let's say mid level. Yeah. Um, it's been interesting.
Mm,
I remember there was a story we did. It was a collabo. We did about the first lady of
mm.
Cameroon,
Okay.
um, and it had to do with uh, certain things. I may not want to recall publicly
No
the
problem. No
details.
problem.
Yeah, because the story was later taken down when
Mm,
we had so much to it and all of that. But it had to do with her past life because she was married
okay. Mm,
before getting married to the current
yeah.
president. So we did an investigation of that on some of the causes that led to uh, um, the husband's death and all of that.
Yeah.
So the investigation was related to that. But when that story was published, it wasn't easy. We got a lot of threat, phone calls and all of that. And at the tail end, since the publisher was not based in Cameroon, we
Mm,
actually succumbed to the pressure and told him to take down the story. Just because, like my lecturers always told me in university, as a journalist, always try to leave so I can tell another story the
mm.
following day. So yeah, we have to succumb to that pressure. And when you do investigative journalism, the rest assured you face such threat
Yeah.
because somebody somewhere doesn't want that information to go out and can go to any extent
Mm,
to try to block it. Yeah. So
mm,
it's something which investigative journalists face, and I'm very much aware of that. And
mm,
if I need to increase my my echelon in investigation journalism, I have to leave. I have to relocate. I have to relocate because there are good investigative ideas I've had,
mm,
which I can do here in Cameroon. But
mm,
being based here with my family, I've just decided to keep them aside for now because
mm,
if you do that and you're in Cameroon, there'll definitely be no hiding place for you.
mm.
So for the moment, I do investigation, but not to the enemy
Yeah,
level.
I get you. On the back of what you have just said, would you say that press freedom is a reality in Cameroon?
Um, the government always says that they express freedom, and one of the things they used to justify in Cameroon is that we have about about 500 newspapers
Mm,
in Cameroon. Yeah, we have about 200 radio stations. We have tens of TV stations. So
mm,
that's the government justification that they express freedom. When you want to go into the details, you realize that to create a newspaper, uh, the law says you just need about just two journalists. You can really send it. So I just go to an SDO and an SDO office. An SDO is a civil administrator. You just make the
mm.
application, it gives you a receipt, and then you can just start publishing. That's what the law says. So using that as a a measuring rod to say there's press freedom to me is absurd because we have a lot of those newspapers which are registered without any office, without qualified staff and all of that, and then you say that journalism which is like garbage. So I'll not want to go into the
Yeah, I
government
get
understanding of what press
you.
freedom is. But if we can't have a promotion of freedom of information act in place
Mm,
after more than 50 years as a country, then it speaks of our level of press freedom. And then one other thing we've been clamoring as journalists in Cameroon is the decriminalization of press offenses because press offenses in Cameroon are still considered as criminal offenses in addition
mm,
to the civil aspect of such offenses. So we've been advocating that a press offense shouldn't be a criminal offense. It should just count
mm,
a civil.
mm,
It should be considered a civil offense because we're bound to make mistakes. But now the
mm,
government will look at other parameters and say, "Okay, if we decriminalize offenses and then since there's so many costs and all of that, so it's like it's a terrible situation. Yeah, but
mm,
I really don't think there is press freedom to that extent. Because when you look at the uh, various indexes, we've
mm,
been ranking quite low. Yeah,
mm.
look at Reporters Without Borders, you look at another issue, the various index ranks us low. There are still so
Yeah.
many journalists in prison
Mm,
because of their work.
mm. Journalists today who are relevant are multimedia in terms of functionality. Even if you report for, let's say, a newspaper, you go along with a camera to do some short video, get some interviews, which will be uploaded onto your social media page. You're also expected to also put in something to be uploaded onto your website, among others. Within the past 7 years or a little more, that is when social media has redefined the frontiers of journalism. Has it become more tasking for you, or being somebody who is knowledgeable in print, electronic, online, you are just comfortably doing what you have been doing all these years?
At the moment, I'm undergoing to a training
Okay.
to up my skills in video,
Mm,
so that I can also be able to, besides doing still photos and text, I also
mm,
want to get into video because newsrooms are bleeding. So
yeah.
most news organizations would prefer a backpack journalist to maybe just a text journalist or maybe just
Yeah.
a photo journalist. But if you're
Mm,
able to do that, the newspaper knows that you are much more valuable. If
mm,
they can have a text video journalist, okay,
mm,
now if we are um, onboarding this person, we are cutting on cost. If they
yeah.
can incident somewhere and we are sending him to report, we know we are sending just one person who's going to take the still photo, who's going to do the text and
Mm,
do the video. And we realize that previously those will be three personnel that will be
mm,
dispatched. So it's something which I will encourage all journalists to actually inculcate because the times are changing and as newsrooms are bleeding, realize that more staff positions will be lost
mm.
and newsrooms will want to maybe retain people who can do more than what they just used to do in the past.
My final question. Would you encourage anybody, a relative, maybe in future, a child that shows interest in journalism, would you encourage that person to take to journalism as a profession?
Yes, it's a big yes for me. Not even in journalism. If somebody is passionate about something, maybe even just mechanics or maybe carpentry or
Mm,
anything, once you have that passion, I will always encourage you to go for it. Because once you have that passion, you are driven by it, and then you take it seriously from the days, you're actually going to excel. So I will say yes. If you want to be a journalist, um, I'll definitely advise you to go in for it, and I'll give you my full support. Because once you start nurturing this passion from the base, and then you can start having those who can coach you, believe me, you're going to go very far. Because other journalists, like the big names we hear, the Amman Boss, they started just like any
Yeah.
person who learns a passion. So I'll definitely say, okay, going for what you think you're passionate about, and then you take it seriously. Like one of my professors always say, go and fight your war. Yeah. So I advise that if anybody has interest in journalism, the person should work on that interest and build on.
Amindeh, Blaise, Atabong. Thanks for your time, my brother. I'm truly grateful.
It's my pleasure.
This has been pens down. We've had the company of Reuters correspondent in Cameroon. We've taken a look at what brought him into journalism, some of the exciting times he's had, some low moments, his perspective on a number of issues bordering on the media generally, among others. We'll be back next time with another edition. I'll have another colleague here and we'll be talking their journalism journeys. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.